is how to defend an FC25 in under 5 minutes. The clock is ticking. This video will be broken up into 6 segments. It's right stick switching, defensive shape, tracking, holding the position, anticipating the opponent, and the seal out defensive technique. And the majority of techniques outlined in this video will involve right stick switching. And if you haven't yet learned it, where have you been? I've been teaching this for years on the channel, and it's the most crucial aspect to defending at a high level in FC25. Examples of why this is important include, for instance, here when I had to instantly track the attacker to recover, here where I had to keep the defensive line and shape intact to defend proficiently against the opponent, here where I squeezed the opponent off the ball, and lastly here where I anticipated my opponent from various reading techniques, all of which I will be teaching very shortly. As you can see, right stick switching is key, and your success to defending in this game is going to rely heavily on whether or not you can switch accurately and quickly. So start forcing yourself to use right stick switching for every switch so that you can defend at a high level in FC25. Defensive shape, as mentioned, jockeying is non-reactive, meaning defensive shape is our priority. And that's simply because we cannot react to our opponent if we leave a slight gap open, and that's why I will be talking very shortly about holding the position. But in terms of shape, this involves right stick switching. And that's because when you're defending, you need to constantly switch between your defenders to maintain that shape. The AI shape itself will never be sufficient enough to defend at a high level, and that's why it's super important that you learn right stick switching so you can constantly switch between those defenders, hold the position, and maintain that defensive shape. And that's where tracking comes into play, because although you may need to maintain that shape, I will say to you now, tracking should be your number one priority, because if you do not track and the attacker gets in behind, as I said, jockeying is non-reactive, meaning if you do not switch early enough to the defender to track the opponent, you'll be left lacking. So ensure that when you are defending and keeping that shape, any runners you see, you are tracking them by switching with the right stick. We then have holding the position. Holding the position to maintain shape is ensuring you resist the temptation to bite and tackle the opponent, and instead prioritize positioning. And in a year where jockeying is slow to react and positioning and shape is the most important aspect of your defense, exactly like in this situation where if I didn't hold my position, there would be nil ability for me to adjust and adapt to my opponent to get the block in. If you don't prioritize this, you will continue to concede goals. Now, there are various techniques to hold the position when jockeying, and these in general will be outlined in the 1 hour long defending tutorial that I will be dropping in the next few days. But in general, you want to be light and caressed on the left stick to ensure you don't overcommit. And all might be going well. You may be keeping that defensive shape, you may be tracking, and you may be holding in that position. However, to actually defend to that next level, you need to learn to anticipate your opponent. And there are 3 techniques to this. They include looking for signals, reading by touch direction, or learning common flows of play. A signal is simply seeing a striker in front of a defender and knowing that your opponent will look for strikers, so you switch early enough to the centre back to cut off the pass. Reading via touch is taking notice of where the opponent is taking their first touch so that you can switch preemptively and be one step ahead. And lastly, learning common flows of play is learning what most people do in their attack and switching accordingly to read where they're going to go. So for instance, in a situation where you do see that striker sitting in front of the defender, you should look to switch preemptively to the centre back to cut off the pass before the opponent even thinks to pass to that striker. By doing this, you're still maintaining that defensive shape and you're holding your position, but you're also reading where your opponent will go so that he feels like he's on the back foot throughout the entire match. And last but not least, we have seal out. I don't think it would be just for me to leave this out of a defending tutorial in FC25, but seal out is back, and that does include utilizing the advanced defending setting, which I outlined in my controller and camera settings video just a few days ago. And it involves simply tapping the X button to have the defender lock on to that attacker, and then as he gets close to him, you press tackle to come out with the ball. It's a very effective technique this year, and you need to implement this into your game. And although I will be teaching you other jockeying techniques that help you line up defenders, because let's face it, seal out won't always be the necessary technique to get a tackle in, it is a very key technique to help you lock on and not overcommit, so as long as you hold that position. Now, there will be a complete 1 hour defending tutorial for FC25. This video was simply made for those of you who just don't have at the time. Now I am coaching one-on-one. I'm an ex-pro with many years of experience. I take people from low divisions to the elite in a matter of a month or two. If you want to be a part of the coaching academy, the link is down below. We're coaching again this year, baby, and we're helping you guys get up to the high ranks. And if you did enjoy this video, you may just enjoy this one here. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then I'd really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. And lastly, if you do want any pre-gaming fuel or supplement, then head over to atpscience.com, which is the first link in the description, and use the code DylanEtsATP at checkout to get yourself a discount. Not only is it the cheapest way to get supplements, but it helps me out a ton, guys, so thank you.